Hi everyone, this is Joe from KE Consulting, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you an overview of warehousing in Business Central. I've broken down warehousing into three levels of varying complexity, and I'm going to walk you through each one to help you understand the differences. So, what is warehousing? Warehousing is how we see and track the storage and movement of our items in Business Central. For example, we keep stock of tables and we want to know where they're being stored and how many we have. So we keep track of stock using locations, bins, and zones. Locations are our actual warehouse locations. And for example, we could have one in Bristol and one in Bath. Bins are the shelves or storage containers within our locations that hold our items. And so this is more of a specific place that our item is stored. And we can also use zones which group bins together. So for example, we might have a north and a south zone within our warehouse. So what are some different levels of warehousing? So warehousing can be set up in many ways to fit your own needs, but I've broken it down into three different levels to show some different setups with varying complexity and functionality. In the following slides, I will go into each of these levels in more detail. But keep in mind, it is very customizable, so things like zones could be added at any level, but in my example, I've only included them in advanced. So first, we have simple warehousing, and this is going to involve locations and bins, and it keeps documents to a minimum. Next, we have basic warehousing, and again, we'll be using locations and bins, but here we're going to introduce inventory picks and putaways. And these are used to track item movement and storage when items arrive and leave the warehouse. Finally, we have advanced warehousing, and in here, I'm going to use locations, bins, and zones. We're also going to be introducing warehouse picks and putaways, and also using warehouse shipments and receipts. So this now introduces two layers of tracking when items leave and arrive at the warehouse. Also, if you have multiple locations, you could use a different warehouse setup for each location. So this could be beneficial if you need more tracking in certain locations while only needing a basic setup elsewhere. So let's begin with simple warehousing. In simple warehousing, we're going to use locations and bins. It's kept simple by not requiring lots of documents when receiving and shipping items. We only need to use purchase orders and sales orders. So the process works as follows. We create a purchase order and choose a location and bin to store the items in. When we post this purchase order, we will be able to see the items stored in the chosen bin and location. Then, when we're ready to sell to a customer, we create a sales order and choose a location and bin to take the items from. When we post the sales order, the items will leave the location and bin. Next, we've got basic warehousing, and this is where we're going to introduce inventory picks and putaways. And these are documents that we're going to fill in whenever we receive or ship items to confirm the correct items and quantities have been fulfilled. Inventory putaways will be filled in to confirm the correct stock has arrived and which bins the items have been placed in. And then inventory picks work in the opposite direction and are used to confirm the correct stock has been picked and from which bins. So the purchasing flow goes as follows. A purchase order is created and the items are ordered. Once the items arrive at our warehouse, we create and open the inventory putaway. Here we confirm how many items have arrived and which bins we've placed them in. The putaway can also suggest what bins to place our items in. We can then post this putaway and then post the purchase order. Now, once we're ready to sell our items to a customer, we create a sales order. We then create an inventory pick, and this is used for us to confirm the correct stock has been picked and from which bins. We can also use the pick to see which bins have availability of our items. We then post this and post the sales order once it's shipped. Finally, we're moving on to our advanced warehousing setup. So now we have locations, bins, and zones, and also this is where we're going to add an extra layer of tracking when shipping and receiving items. And we're now going to do this by using warehouse picks and putaways, as well as warehouse shipments and receipts. So we now have two levels of tracking for extra confirmation of item movements. So the warehouse receipts are used to confirm which items have arrived on delivery and have been placed in the warehouse. We then use the warehouse putaways to confirm the items have been moved from arrival in the warehouse to their actual storage bins. Warehouse picks are used to confirm items have been picked from their storage bins and placed in a shipping area. And then warehouse shipments are used to confirm the items have been moved from the shipping area to actually out for delivery. So the following is the flow when purchasing. We create a purchase order and the items are ordered. When the items arrive at our warehouse, we create a warehouse receipt where we confirm the amount of stock that has arrived at the warehouse and confirm it has now been placed in the warehouse. We then use a warehouse putaway to confirm the items have been moved from the arrival zone of the warehouse to their actual storage bins. And again, BC can suggest where they're supposed to be placed. We can then post this and post the purchase order. When selling our items to a customer, a sales order is created containing the items that we're selling. A warehouse pick is then used by warehouse staff to pick the items from their storage bins and confirm they have been placed in the shipping area. A warehouse shipment is then used to confirm these items have been moved from the shipping area to actually out for delivery. This can then be posted, and so can the sales order. So what's next? In the following videos in this series, I'll be going through each of these warehouse configurations and showing how they work and the setup behind them. As I mentioned earlier, each of these can be customized to your needs, but these are three levels of complexity that offer different pros and cons, so choosing what works best for your business is important.